I have with me today Tito Puente Jr., son of the Mambo King Tito Puente, band leader. He's done acting and producing, and look at that shirt. I need one of those shirts. Uh, Thank you so much, man, for accepting to join the conversation with me today. I mean, you are part of a legacy in Mambo history, so we appreciate you joining us.
Gracias, Chepe. I appreciate you inviting me to this program. Hopefully, we can inspire some anybody out there, especially now during this quarantine. You know, people need
Yeah,
inspiration, so this is a great platform to do that.
that's
Gracias
right.
por invitarme. Thank you.
For sure. Thank you for accepting. So we have a few images that will basically carry the conversation. And so I'll describe the images to you and then we can move from there. So the first image I have here is you with a timbala player. And it looks like you're singing in this image. And he's playing timbales in the back. Tell us about this photo and who are these people there with you?
Okay, so the photo of me singing and the gray-haired gentleman behind me, that would be El Rey de Timbal, mi papá, Tito Puente. This was a very special evening. Wow, I think this was my sister's 40th birthday.
Oh, wow.
No, maybe it was 30. I'm sorry, I made her feel a little younger, but I think it was maybe her 30th birthday, and she had my father performed at her birthday party, and of course, me being the ham I am, I jumped on stage and I said, "Let me sing a song with my old man," and I got the opportunity to sing with him at the birthday party. So this is a family photo, very private photo. I think my mom might have taken this photo,
Oh,
or
wow.
my brother. And that's we celebrate, you know, the music of Tito Puente, Rey de Timbal, and it was nice to see Dad doing I guess that he said that was his gift to my sister, and she's like, "Nah, I don't want this gift. I want something else, Dad." You know?
What a heck of a gift. I take that gift.
Yeah, yeah. He had to pay the whole band too.
Right. It's an expensive gift.
So yeah, so but Pop was very, very loving like that, and it was nice to have him perform for my sister's birthday party. The whole family was there. As a matter of fact, my grandmother was still alive at the time, and she was attending that event. And it was a special day in our lives, you know, being his children and experiencing his orchestra, and it was just kind of him to offer that too, you know. And my mom was there, and again, it was a very personal photo with the family, and I got a great shot, or somebody got the great photo
Mhm.
of me singing with Dad, and go figure, I ended up going behind the drums as I moved on in life.
Right, right.
So,
And I mean,
yeah.
so obviously your dad is a legend in Latin music, and in music in general, we could just say that. Um, are you and him the only ones who are musically inclined in the family?
You know, the photo there, you can see that I really wanted to be a singer. I was very intrigued on doing that.
Uh-huh.
And I always loved dance music, and I wanted to be in a boy band, and I love rock music, and I wanted to be a rock singer. So I was a jack of all trades, but
Yeah.
I was encouraged to play. My first love is drum set. So I played the
Okay.
drums first, and I played in a heavy metal band at first, and
Wow.
I still love rock music even to this day. A lot of people don't know that about Puente Jr., that I do love heavy metal and rock music, Metallica, The Slayer, you know, the heavy stuff.
Heavy
I love the
metal for
Bon
sure.
yeah, heavy metal, man, real heavy stuff. And I still enjoy it even till today. I love going to the concerts and experiencing that. My father, of course, was not into that genre of music. He was more into jazz and salsa and mambo,
Yeah, yeah.
and we would clash. We would clash a little bit
Okay.
when it came to music and our styles. And he was like, "Why do you like that music?" And I said, "Well, I fall asleep at your music, you know." So we would go back and forth with that. But it was nice to see, you know, Carlos Santana redo "Oye Como Va," a
Yeah,
cha 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 my father wrote, and made that bond of that was really like the first rock Latin song,
yeah.
you know, of our generation, and. But nobody else really got into it. My brother Ronnie, my older brother, is a excellent performer, and he's a musician at heart. He
Hmm.
plays the vibraphone, plays timbales. He plays about maybe 10 different instruments too.
Hmm.
Fantastic musicianship that he went to Juilliard School of Music as well. So he's classically
Wow.
trained into music. Me, I'm more into the rock and the more pop genre. And my sister is a meteorologist. She does
I see that.
into
Yeah.
the music. She does the weather on television in New York. So
Wow.
They're the Puente kids.
For sure, all artists in their own ways. Have you ever been, speaking of heavy metal, have you ever been to a Day to Remember concert?
Oh wow! I mean, for all the hundreds and hundreds of concerts that I've been to, I can only compliment the ones that I really enjoyed the most. That I can't really remember too well the days when it happened. But one was Monsters of Rock. It was at Giant Stadium. It was Metallica, Guns N' Roses. I think it was Aerosmith. There was a bunch of great,
Oh wow.
huge monster bands, and those are something. I still have some photos I gotta find. I took a 110 camera. Remember the 110 camera?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just a baby. What you talking
You're a
about?
little younger. Yo, Ledito, tú eres niñito, tú eres niño. Cada nene.
So did your dad try to push you towards the mambo?
Not really, no. And I gotta appreciate my father for what he taught me, which was I have to learn how to read and write music and go to school for it. So I went to college for at Five Towns College in New York to learn how to read and write music, and then learned with a jazz band on the instruments and on what they really represent and how they're played and where the derivatives of them came from. Jazz 101, standard classes that you would take in any music program or any music university or conservatory of music. I'm glad that I got that opportunity. And then I had to take lessons with a great man named Sam Mulano. My father pushed me to go learn drum lessons. Okay. So Tito Puente didn't teach Tito Puente Jr. how to play drums. He pushed me to just come to his concerts, and I'd fall asleep as a kid backstage. I wasn't into the mambo music. And as I traveled with him, Chepe, when I started traveling with him as a teenager, is when I started feeling that ritmo, the clave rhythms, the timbal, the conga, the bongo were giving to me sonically. And that's when I started going into more of the Latin dance music, Latin house music, and of course, learning how to play timbales, switching over from drums to timbal.
Okay, and so did your family go, did you guys go as a family? Did your brother and sister come along as well when he was touring?
My brother was mostly in New York because he had a full-time job. Okay. He's my older brother from my dad's first marriage, so he was much older than us. He would babysit us, basically. My sister and I are more closer in age. We're 1 year apart. So when we were younger, we would stay with mom in New York, and my brother would spend time with my father in the recording studio. Back in the 1950s and 60s, he traveled, but it was more South America and the United States. As his career grew after the 1970s, Oye Como Va, he started going more towards Europe and started doing Latin jazz concerts over there. And then when I became a teenager, I think I was around maybe 13, 14 years old, the summer times, in between when we weren't going to school, I would travel. Well, the family would go with him, and we would travel overseas to Europe, to the Orient, the Far East, to Japan, to China. It was incredible experience. I never believed in my lifetime that I would see these beautiful places that the planet has, and his music, how far-reaching it went. And that was really like the time when it shifted for me to get out of playing heavy metal and get into a little Latin thing. So I'm glad I got that opportunity.
And I know he's been to, I think, I know China. I don't know if it's Japan or somewhere specific, but I know that I've seen interviews where he talks about that experience too. It's crazy, people dancing mambo over there.
Don't even know the language, and he actually found some great salsa bands out there, like Orquesta de la Luz, a very popular Japanese group from Japan, and he would perform every year for about 3 to 4 months in all throughout the whole country of Japan, and then the Far East. He went to Vietnam, Philippines, Jakarta, Indonesia, just these countries that just you would never believe that Latin music would be popular. And there was a great experience seeing those beautiful places.
That's amazing. Well, I have another image here, and it's of your dad with Celia Cruz. These, at least to the fans, they seem inseparable. What can you speak to that dynamic relationship that they had as artists?
Yeah,
and what did she mean
remember.
To you?
Well, she was a godmother to myself and my sister, Madrina Celia. She was an incredible woman, a spirit to contend with that just brought people together. Her voice was incredible. God bless her soul. She traveled and did over 30 some odd albums with my father. They had many, many recordings together, hundreds and hundreds of concerts, live performances. My father opened up the doors for Celia in many different countries where they didn't have a female Black Latino Afro-Cuban woman.
Wow.
And it was so new for the people out in the European and in the Far East and the Orient to see that. And he opened up those doors for her, and she became a worldwide superstar, playing Afro-Cuban music around the world. She was a beautiful woman, a beautiful lady. And I have to mention the great, great man that she lived with for her entire life, from she was a teenager all the way to the end, and that's Senor Pedro Knight. Yeah. He was the first trumpet player of Sonora Matancera from Cuba, and worked with Celia all her life, and God rest his soul too. He was an amazing man too. So both of them traveled with Tito Puente around the world and brought people together, man. It was just, what an experience to see that in our lifetime, in our generation, including yours, Jeppe, that we won't see icons like that ever again. I mean, once in a lifetime, you see powerhouses of Latino icons of that caliber.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm 34, and I grew up in Connecticut, so I grew up with, hip hop and La Mega, and so from New York, and so we would always listen. Claro. My house was a Tito Puente, Celia, Cruz, Mark Anthony type of household, so I definitely can relate. My first concert was a tribute to the Beatles in Radio City Music Hall. I think I was 11 or 12. And your dad was playing and Celia Cruz was performing. And many times after that, my parents anytime they were in Atlantic City performing, my parents were there. I was too young to go. But the caliber of music and artistry is very hard to come across nowadays. And, just people who did good music. It wasn't about scandals or anything else. It was just about good music and making people happy. And, the fact that they played a part in being one of those people who were the first to open doors for other artists, there were some of those, they played a role in that. And also to be, like you said, a Black Latina with your dad and him being light-skinned, a light-skinned Latino. Yeah. Like, he looked like he had curly hair like me.
Yeah, well, my grandmother was Puerto Riqueña, nació en Puerto Rico, negrita. She was dark skinned, so that's why my father had the kinky hair going on, and he had that afro in the 70s. But yes, but he played Afro-Cuban music, and again, those were pioneers of Latin music. Really opened doors for all of us.
And can you explain? I know some people don't know the difference of mambo and salsa and the play on words.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I get that question quite a few times. I only go from what my father taught me. Okay. And he used to say, salsa. ¿Qué significa salsa? La palabra salsa. What does salsa mean? And salsa is what you eat with your spaghetti or what you put your chips in at the Mexican restaurant. Salsa tomate Goya. Salsa, of course, is something that I'll give credit to Mr. Johnny Pacheco. He created the Fania All-Stars in the 1970s. It's a sauce. And it became the terminology and the word that was used for all the different cultures that were brought into Fania, where Dominican, Cuban, Puerto Rican, Colombian, Venezuelan, they were all together in that Fania All-Star. So thus salsa. But prior to that, in the 1950s, when my father was performing, mambo music was really king, and that was the top sound and genre of music at that time. Mambo, cha-cha-cha, guanguanco, rumba. The word mambo comes from the section of music that was placed, and we'll give credit, of course, to Mr. Israel Cachao Lopez, bass player from Cuba, who created that sound, Arsenio Rodriguez. And when they were writing their music, they put the mambos where the music gets very exciting, where the horns come in. It's usually after the coro in any salsa song and any chorus part, and then you hear the swinging saxophones and big band sound. So that's really the mambo, the derivative of the word. It's a mambo section of music, but I guess the word caught on, and people started doing the mambo. Let's go to the club and do the mambo. And then, of course, you see Jackie Gleason and everybody else, and Desi and Lucy, Ricky Ricardo. They started bringing in the mambo thing, and it became a worldwide sensation. And there you have it. That's the difference, kind of. Mambo grew into salsa, and today they call it salsa today, but I like the word mambo better.
Yeah, it keeps its roots, right? It's true to
Yeah.
the roots. Okay, so I'm excited to. I love you mentioned Desi. I haven't heard about those people in a while, so it's kind of cool to hear
Yeah.
all those names are so important. So I have another image here, and it's you in a nice colored shirt, and it looks like you're in a tropical place, or maybe you're on a set with the Timbales, I believe.
Yes.
And
This
I see
was
that picture behind you, actually.
Yes, it's right here. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I really love that photo. That was a great opportunity to work with a company that had a line of clothing. And
Oh,
JCPenney, if you, I think they still have it. It's a habanera line, and
okay.
this a derivative of it was called Cuba Vera. And I did a little promotion for them for about a good 6 months, and we traveled around all the JCPenney stores, and I got to perform inside a department store. So it was kind of
Oh,
unique, a
wow.
little different for me, but it caught on, and people loved the shirt. They ended up buying thousands and thousands of those things, and they made a
Wow.
nice chunk of change. But the company, I still thank the company till today, and they were fantastic. That's one of the promotions over
Oh,
here
that's
for
great.
a JCPenney I did in the Bronx.
Look
I was
at
in the
that.
Bronx, and I signed autographs, and we had the band in there, and it was a great experience to play in a mall and have people enjoy mambo music. Of course, this was a time, of course, prior to the pandemic. We're going to be saying
Yeah.
that for years.
I
Before the
know.
pandemic, we used to perform in the mall.
We used to be like BC and all that. You have to have one of those words
Yeah.
for COVID, right? That's funny. I wish that you were playing in one of the JC Penney's that my grandmother used to drag me with her to go shopping. That would have made the experience much better.
Yeah, yeah, I love performing. We did all around the United States, as a matter of fact. Did it in Florida, Texas, California.
Uh,
We went to Chicago, of course, even in Connecticut. I think we did one in Connecticut too, in Hartford, I believe. And it was just fantastic. A great opportunity to work with the people over at Supreme International. And I love that shirt. You know, that's a nice promo thing. But I did so many different lines of clothing throughout my father's whole career.
oh, okay.
He worked with, of course, Versace and some of the bigger companies. So this was
Yeah.
little Junior's thing at the J.C.
Like
Penney.
doing his thing. Hey, we all
Yeah,
starting somewhere.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool. So I have a photo here also of you at the Apollo. I mean, that's a huge place to perform. Now you're here by yourself. How was the transition of well, did you start playing with your dad first, or did you do something by yourself first and sometimes link up?
Well, that's a two-part question. So
Yeah.
first, I started playing with rock bands first, and I traveled around
Mhm.
just the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. We played a lot of different clubs, and it was a great experience for me to get my feet wet into the whole music industry. And I love performing the heavy metal music. I still love it till today. I have a lot of friends that are still in the rock world, and I'm glad to see that they have becoming bigger, and the music is always there too. And rock just became such a force to be reckoned with, even till today. So I started off with that. But in the photo, the second part of the question, this was something really, really special to me because my father was the first Puerto Rican and Latino to perform at the Apollo Theater back in the 1950s. So it was Tito Puente and his orchestra, and this was very rare because the Apollo Theater was in Black Harlem, New York, and the Puerto Ricans lived a little bit south of that in a place called Spanish Harlem. They call it El Barrio. Tito Puente was born and raised there on 110th Street. So my dad was very, very close with all the great, Dizzy Gillespie, Duke Ellington, Count Basie. He wanted to connect with them. So he was asked to perform at the Apollo, one of the first Latino and Puerto Rican band leaders to play there. And it was a great treat that I got invited by the Apollo themselves and, of course, NBC, and they aired this great thing called Showtime at the Apollo, the 70th anniversary. My father, of course, passed away in 2000, but they asked me to do it in, I think it was 2003 or 2004, and I got the opportunity to share the stage with the likes of Bob Dylan, Willie Nelson, and not only that, but every superstar in the black and R&B world, Freddie Jackson. Oh my God, I think Natalie Cole was there, as a matter of fact. I can go on and on. I have to look at all the photos. Really, really great experience to share Tito Puente music. And I thought I was going to get booed, Chepe. You know how they are at the Apollo.
I know, yeah.
You off the stage.
Yeah,
So very nervous, but I got it. We did Oye Como Va that evening, and I'm so glad to experience that. And they love Tito Puente in Harlem, New York, Black and Spanish Harlem.
Yeah.
They just love Tito Puente, and they named a street after him over there.
Oh, wow.
So great experience, man. Great photo, too.
Amazing. I mean, yeah, to play at the Apollo, that's an honor.
Man,
and I think even
really
the greatest get nervous when they play there. I mean, that's the spot
yeah.
to be at.
Tyra Banks introduced me. I was like, whoa, look at her. She's a model. And
Yeah.
I was just really nervous that evening, but I got through it. And for them to throw, shoes and tomatoes at me or whatever they had in their hand. Apollo, man. I thought the clown was going to come out and take me out of there. But I made it, and they all loved me, and I'm so glad that they love my father. So great experience.
Okay, and so I have an interesting photo here, and it's on a set of a movie. What's going on here? What's you doing there?
I look like a used car dealer. trying to hustle the guy. I did a couple of movies in my time. I did a couple of indie films. This one was one that I filmed in New York. You guys could probably see it on like YouTube. I think it's out there, and it won a couple of awards at some film festivals. And it's called "The Sun Shines on the Other Side of the Street." I played an actor, lead role. This is my first leading role, actually. I was a father of a teenager coming back from the Iraq War, and trying to get my kid out of the street. And he was hanging around some hoodlums. And this is one of the mob guys. That's a scene from one of the mob guys that are, kind of I guess a drug dealer or something like that. And I was like, hey, stop hanging around these kids. And I guess they beat me up. And it's funny because most of the movies I'm in, Chepe, I always end up dying in the thing. So I'm never in the sequel.
Oh man, you can't come
I don't think I was built for the acting thing. I'm never in the sequel of any of the films I've done. I've done about maybe 7 or 8 films, and I'm always getting shot or stabbed or killed or I fell off a cliff or.
So you auditioned to these things, or were they things that people hit you up to be a part of? A little mix of those.
This particular one, it's funny because I did audition for some of them, which didn't get leading roles, and I got just extra parts or talking roles, talking scenes. But this one, I was friends with somebody that knew the director, and then they were like, let's test Tito out. And I said, hey, I came over, so I read some lines for him. He's like, hey, man, I think you'd be pretty good in this. It's an independent film, very low budget, and we're filming it here in New York, and I happened to be in New York at the time. And I said, I'll come up and do the film. And I'm so glad that I got the opportunity to do it. It kind of made me feel a little more comfortable in front of the camera. I'm usually comfortable in front of drums, Timbales, and being with an orchestra, going days and days and sets. And Chepe, you probably know, being in front of the camera, you have to be there at 6 a.m. and stay all day and just hurry up and wait. Whereas musicians, we like to just perform 90 minutes and then we're out.
And you go to a party after, maybe.
Yeah. So I was only used to doing music videos, but this was something special and different. You guys could see it. It's called The Sun Shines on the Other Side of the Street. I think it's on YouTube, or I think you could get it on any of the streaming services and see my somewhat Academy Award winning performance. Somewhat.
We got to stop killing you in these movies, though.
Yeah, man. Please, por favor. Stop killing off the drummers, the Puente.
So, I mean, it seems like you have dabbled in a little bit of everything, and I could imagine, when you get into the arts, it's good to experiment with other stuff, even if it's not something that you may be so passionate about. But it's cool to see that. And speaking of movies, I don't know if you saw on Netflix the new documentary of Mucho Amor of Walter Mercado. I don't know if you had a chance to see it. Did you see it?
Yes, I have.
I talked with the producer on a previous YouTube video that we did, a previous interview we had. And, he was just talking about the importance of, legends and speaking about storytelling and relating to culture now. Would you ever like to do something with the legacy of your father and put it on the big screen or on a series?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Chepe. This past May 31st has been the 20th anniversary of my father's passing. Wow. So on behalf of my family, we've all agreed that that story should be told. 20 years after Tito Puente, we lost a Latin king and an icon. So we've teamed up with Mr. Edward James Olmos and his production company in Los Angeles to present a docu-series. This should be coming out in 2021 of the life story of Tito Puente. Now, Chepe, you know my dad's career was over 50 years, 180 albums, 7-time Grammy Awards. So you can't just do a movie on Tito Puente or a biopic because it would only be, 2 hours long. Puente's career was so vast and the catalog was so large, and the soundtrack is going to be amazing. So we wanted to do a docu-series where we will present on one of the streaming services, whether it be Netflix or who I do not know at this point. But Mr. Edward James Olmos is spearheading it. And if you guys are interested in seeing the progress on this whole thing, you can go to thetitopuenteproject.com. It's thetitopuenteproject.com, and you can see the great Edward James Olmos and all the documentaries that he has done in the past. This one's going to be special because not only Edward James Olmos was a fan of Tito Puente, he was a very good friend of my father. He was at, of course, his funeral when he passed away. He'd been a fan of Tito Puente since the beginning of time, and it's nice to see that Hollywood icon like himself is interested in my father's life story. So he ascertained the rights to it. We're looking forward for this to come out in 2021, and I'm excited to share it. You guys are going to see exclusive home video of my father at Christmas and Thanksgiving, hanging out with the kids, and us really young. You're going to meet our dogs. No one's ever knew that Tito Puente, we had dogs in our home. And they love my father, and really cool experience to put it all together too, because I'm going back in time myself. But I think it's time, Chepe, and of course you will probably agree that most of the fans want a biopic on an icon like that, Tito Puente. The Celia Cruz story that they had on Telemundo was wonderful. I liked it. A lot of it was fictitious when it came to my dad's stuff, but it was overall very dramatic filled, and they really shed a nice light. Yamili, or I forgot the actress's name. Something like that. I don't want to butcher it either.
We'll edit that part out. Don't worry.
Yeah, he was fantastic. So I'm glad that they got the opportunity to shed a little light on Celia Cruz. But the Puente one will be bilingual. It'll be in English and Spanish. Docu-series. It'll be a documentary series. So you'll have authentic people like myself and some of his band members and people that work with Tito Puente, actors, actresses, all talking about how Puente influenced them. And then we're going to start from the beginning. We're going to start all the way from 1923, where Puente was playing on the corner in Central Park, and working with all the greats, Tito Rodriguez, Machito, all the great pioneers of Latin music. And we'll go throughout his entire career. This will be like an 8 or 10 part series because it's a lot to, take in. So exciting.
How involved are you guys in the process?
Well, I'll be straight up and honest with you. I ain't putting up the money. But the Hollywood people are doing that. Right. However, I am going to be a consultant on the entire project, and I'm the one ascertaining all the footage from my mom, my brother, and my sister, and we're getting it all together. And it's really cool stuff. You guys are going to see things that you never thought that Puente was. And I want to show Tito Puente how he was as a person, as a man, as a father, as a husband. I want to show him what his military status was. A lot of people don't know that Tito Puente served in the military. I want to talk about his war years. I would like to talk more about his career through ups and downs. He had ups and downs in his career too, Chepe. It wasn't all, hey, Puente's the famous guy. There was many months and years that he probably didn't work and was at a low part. So we're going to show that aspect of him, and we're going to show a lot of his personal stuff. I think personal things, how he thought, and his political views. Maybe we'll touch a little bit on that. And he was a very neutral person, but overall, we're going to end it all that he was the king of Latin music and made sure that this Puerto Rican heritage, being Hispanic, being Latino in America, being born and raised in America is the most important thing. And that his music, he was really an ambassador for every Latino in the United States, so that way everybody can hear his music, and he opened up doors for so many different artists. You know,
Yeah,
I can go on with Celia Cruz, La Lupe, La India, Mark Anthony, Ricky Martin. I can go on and on about all the
yeah,
superstars that all have been influenced by Tito Puente.
right.
So real exciting, man. You'll look out
Yeah,
for it in 2021.
yeah, I will. I mean, you know, salsa is not sound. We don't hear it as much as we used to because the urban music has taken over, and every couple years, you know, there's a trend that comes up, and people make their mark wherever they try. But to have people like him and have a docuseries, and it's cool to have Edward James Olmos is known, you know, international, and this is where I share with some people like there's some of our icons are only known by the Latinos and maybe a few other people who are culture, you know, like maybe other minorities or a few Caucasians here and there. But it's cool to when somebody, let's say like a James Edward Olmos, who's dabbling in
Mhm.
both worlds, will be behind something like that. It's awesome. Who would we be surprised that your dad was friends with?
Wow. There was was quite a few people that he was friends with. One in particular, a lot of people might have seen the movie Stripes. Bill Murray was our neighbor. Bill Murray, the famous actor,
Yeah,
and Bill Murray and Dad were friends, and of course Al Pacino. Dad was friends
wow.
with Al Pacino as well, with Carlito's Way and all that.
Yeah, yeah,
So there were quite a few people. Of course, he was friends with Mr. David Letterman as well. And there were quite many New Yorkers, mostly,
right.
that Dad was friends with, and you would never believe that he would be friends with. It was really odd and ironic. I'm trying to think of any rock drummers. I think a lot of the rock drummers were fans of Tito Puente, and then my
Yeah,
father, he would ask me, "Hey, who's that guy?" And I'd be like, "Well,
yeah.
that's this guy from that band, you know, whether it be Lars Ulrich from Metallica or Dave
Wow.
Lombardo from Slayer. They're all fans of Tito Puente." My father was like, "Oh, I heard of him, but I don't really care for the music." You know,
Yeah,
he was into
yeah.
mambo and jazz music, but
That
it
was his
was
thing.
interesting that he would know these folks, and of course, everybody knew Puente for being a household, you know, a name.
Yeah, music. Yeah, and so
Yeah.
I know that the Stefans were really close with Celia and stuff, and I believe with your dad as well. Did they ever create music together, or was it more of a friendship that they had?
Well, let me first by saying Emilio and Gloria have been so kind to our family. We love them very much. I'm like their little nephew. Every time I see him, I say, "What's up, Titi?" You know. And Gloria and Emilio are fantastic. Emilio's an amazing producer and good
Yeah,
friend. It was just her birthday recently, so I just wished
yeah,
her a happy
yeah.
birthday as well. And I'm friends with their kids too. Emily and Naive, they're
Naive,
fantastic. So
yeah.
the whole Stefan family living in South Florida, you know, who else to be really close with in the music industry than them? My father worked with Gloria and Emilio on the Mi Tierra album. He was featured
Oh
on that
yes,
album,
yes, yes.
which
Oh,
won a
okay.
Grammy Award, many Grammy Awards, as a matter of fact. So they asked my father to participate in that record, along with Sheila E. and all the
Okay.
other great musicians that are on that record. So Celia and my father were very close with Gloria and Emilio. Gloria and Emilio have been very instrumental in bringing that pop music and bringing
Yeah,
my father and Celia's name to the pop world.
yeah.
And she would always look up to them and mention them in interviews, and we appreciate that. So kind of
Uh,
really cool. They're very beautiful people.
Man, well, I'm excited about what you shared in the movie, honestly, and hearing about your career is inspiring as well. I know you have a cool tattoo there on your arm. I wanted to see if you could show us.
Well, it's
There you
upside down there.
go.
Let me
Yeah.
see if I can show you a little bit. Look.
Oh,
Mira pa
oh,
ahí. Un
man,
poquito.
it's so
Re
big.
timbal.
Yes.
Yeah, man. You guys can see me get this tattoo on YouTube as well.
Oh,
I
is it?
think it was on the TLC network. It was a show called New York Inc. My boy
Okay.
Tommy Montoya did it, and I walked into the place, and I was like, "Man, I'd love to get a nice tattoo of my father." And Tommy was like, "Man, I'm a fan," and he
Oh,
did it, and,
wow.
and it was awesome. It took all day shooting, but you guys could see me crying in pain right there. New York Inc. And the episode is Tito Puente Jr. And you guys can search for that. And
You
very,
gotta
very
trust.
cool opportunity.
You gotta trust somebody a lot to do a portrait of anyone, especially
Yes.
somebody you love and admire. So
Yes.
he did a great
Yeah.
job.
Well, I loved the show, and I was like, man, this guy Tommy really knows what he's doing, and he was a fan. So he's like, man, I'm going to make sure this is going to be perfect. He did it so incredibly. So he looked on a computer screen. I said, I like that photo, and he stenciled it right from the screen,
Wow,
from the screen, and then right onto my arm. I was like, wow, just a mad,
talent.
very very talented guy. So very exciting too.
Well, I want to wrap up our conversation. I'm having fun here with you talking about yourself and your dad's legacy. I want you to be able to share um, to any dream out there, any creative that maybe doesn't think that they could, make it, or maybe they feel they're just not inspired. As you said that your dad uh, didn't have his career wasn't always high, right? He had highs and lows, and it's just part of the industry. Anything in the arts, I feel like, has its high and lows. What advice would you give to somebody who wants to enter the entertainment industry in general?
I'm going to say from quotes from, of course, my late father, simply because his career lasted over 50 years, and you have to follow just that template. That he's the gold standard of
Yeah.
how to make a mambo salsa career in the Latin music world last a long time. You have to reinvent yourself. Not only did my father reinvented himself, and just like Madonna and Prince and all these guys, they all reinvent themselves. And you just have to go with the times and reinvent yourself. My father told me, surround yourself with creative people, thus you'll be creative. I believe when I surround myself with creative people, it's so hard right now during this quarantine to do that. But inspiring conversations like this really help. And talking with people about music and culture and of course, musicianship is a camaraderie thing. When I'm around my musicians, I have a camaraderie. I love being around a piano player and be like, yo, toca eso, yeah, play that again. And I'll kick out a little rhythm to it. And it gives it that camaraderie thing. And bands really have that. And most musicians have that camaraderie. I could talk to musicians for hours and hours upon end. If you are going into this business and you are encouraged to speak with other musicians that are in your craft, whether you play trumpet, trombone, horn, singer, percussion player, piano player, whatever instrument that you play, including your voice, surround yourself with those people and chat with them, and go to some different Zooms at this time. But be in the mix, be in the game, and see what's coming out, what's the latest, the hottest thing, and reinvent yourself. When they did it many, many times, even with his clothing, his look, his hair was black one time, and then it turned white. And and then he went in the 80s, he started going overseas because he called himself not the Tito Puente Jr. He called himself, he wanted to change the dynamic, how people visioned him. So he changed it to Tito Puente and his Latin jazz ensemble. It gives another twist, and it makes people do a double take and say, jazz? What is jazz about him? He's playing mambo music.
Yeah.
No, he wanted to bring that in, and then you play a couple of jazz standards. So reinventing yourself and bringing new ideas to your craft, whatever you play, can really it's challenging, but can give extra light for any career path that you're looking for. Again, I encourage you guys to stay around and surround yourself with creative people. Getting ideas from other people. Some people call it, "Yeah, you stole my idea." My father always called it, "You inspired me." You're an inspiration. And when you get inspired, you feed off that, and that way you switch ideas around, and then you could come to having something that comes really, really great. And whether it's building buildings or anything within the creative mind, farmlands or building anything that you're building, whether it be a home or building or a house or just building a career itself, always have those tools or those building block tools of being fascinated with creative people around you, because that'll give you the tools to build that foundation. That's just my advice. I miss my band. Trust me, Papa.
I bet. I think we all
I
miss
want to
being in
get to them.
concerts.
Yeah.
So, man, that's awesome. Thank you for your time, for your advice. I can't wait to see what's in store for 2021 as far as the culture and the good music and the series that you're talking about. I mean, it's due time. So, thank you for sharing that. I was thinking when we were talking earlier about this, Stefan, it would be cool to see you and Emily do something with your I've heard her
Yeah.
live, and you guys will be sick. So
That's
that
my
happened.
girl. I love her. I hope I keep telling her, I say, we got to do a challenge. So, you know how they do the
Yeah,
verses thing? We're going to do a percussion verses. So me and
exactly.
Emily, I love her.
I would love that. Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much, Tito Puente Jr. We'll keep
Gracias.
in touch. This video will be up, and thank you so much for your time and for what you've contributed to the culture and for sharing your family's legacy with us today.
Chepe, muchísimas gracias. Que viva la raza, que viva Tito Puente. And listen to Tito Puente music through this quarantine, guys. You guys will feel so much better. Thanks, Chepe. I appreciate it,
Thank
brother.
you. Appreciate you.
Gracias.
Blessings. Take care.
Don't forget to subscribe and watch this next video. Only if it's me. If it's somebody else, don't watch it.